Hi, I'm Dick. This video is the part 2 of the uncommon functions, January cross-drawn and January series. This is also the episode 4 of stream 1. We continue the example of advanced application of January. We are still dealing with the first-in-first-out costing basis, but this time we are using a high volume data of data set. More or less, it is similar to this visual matrix. Nothing changed with the format, but we have more and more data. I can tell you that the sell transaction is more than 10,000 and the buy transaction is more than 10,000. All right, then it creates some issue with the methodology we employ with the simple data set in part 1. This is the questions I would like to raise in regard to the large volume of the data set. Now, I can tell you that we need to use the January function in an advanced level, which we can significantly reduce the size of the data table. Remember, when we are using the cross-drawn, and there are two input, table 1 and table 2, and then the first result of the cross-drawn, the total number of rows is number of rows of table 1 times number of rows of table 2. You can imagine if every table they have around 20,000, then how big will be the data table? 4 million, all right, or even more. So it will need to memory crash. I have ever dealt with a data table with around 10 million rows, although Power BI can handle, but it depends on how many RAMs your laptop has. So there would be some restriction if the report is run in a laptop with less RAM and the CPU is a little bit slow. So it's meaningless to wait for a long time. So we need to figure out the algorithm or the advanced usage of the DAX formula so that we can speed up. All right, now this video, I am going to tell you how to do that by the DAX code, okay? Before we are going to do the Power BI report, let's see the data set first. Now, this is the sell transaction data table. We still have 5 columns, all right, but we have 14.1 thousand rows of sales transaction. Then the buy, same structure, and we have almost 11.9 thousand rows. So, this is very interesting when we are going to do the FIFO data table. Okay, let's jump to Power BI. Here is the table view of Power BI. I already import the two worksheet into the Power BI data tables. All right, now for buy data table, we have 11.9 thousand rows. And then for sell, it is 14.1 thousand rows. And I also create the 3 columns, namely YM, month and day, and bank day. I'm not going to repeat on how to create them. You better refer to the part 1 of episode 4. Okay, then I am going to copy and paste the DAX code for the table creation of FIFO data. All right. Now, I paste the code in here. How many rows do you expect would be the result? Now, initially, you can think that 11.9 thousand times 14,000 around. Then it may be more than 10 millions. All right. Of course, we have the outer filter function so that it can remove those rows not meet the condition. All right. So let me hit the enter. It may take some time. I do not skip it. Rather, I would like you to look at this and then we can see how fast is Power BI. Oh, I need to mention that I'm using the Copilot Plus PC and I have 16 megabyte RAM with this laptop. So let's wait for it. All right, it doesn't take so long time to create 10.2 million rows. Wonderful. Power BI, they are doing the calculations very effective. All right, but now, but I do have a concern. Do we really need 10.2 million records? I don't think so. Okay, let me show you how I am thinking, and I will explain to you. This is not the good way, the best way to handle the data like this. We better to look at the data set in Excel and explain the better way to deal with such a huge size of a data set and see if you agree with me. We may need to change a little bit about the FIFO cost calculation methodology and also the thinking. Okay, now, if you have the file open in front of you, it is good. As mentioned before, I will attach all the Excel file, Power BI files in the video so that you can follow through the whole process. Now, I have sort the sales transaction in the order of stock and tran ID. All right, stock name first and then tran ID. And you remember it is 14.1 million rows dataset. Okay, and then by same, it is 11.9 thousand rows. And I also sort it by stock and transaction ID. All right, I pick up one row. Now, the transaction ID is 212220, and it is Audi. The stock name is Audi. Now, remember, when we are doing the FIFO data, the data combination methodology will extract or may match those buy-in transactions for this stock, and the transaction date should be on or before April 19. So we go to the buy, and I can show you. See, on or before April 19, 2011. Then I mark it yellow color. All right, I mark the last row of April 19, and then it will extract all the transactions on or before April 19. That means this one, right? I need to remind you one thing. You must be fully understanding the FIFO calculation I presented in the last video, the episode 4, part 1. Otherwise, you cannot follow what I am talking about in here. All right, so we extract this data, and then I would say being absorbed by this transaction. And then how many rows? 29 rows. 29 rows for this transaction. Okay, now if it is April 20, then it will be now starting from here. And then how many rows? 32. This one is 29, and this one is 32. So that's why we have a huge data table, because every single row of sales transaction, they need to absorb all the buy-in transaction with the date on or before the sales transaction, so that we can do the FIFO cost calculation. Okay, so I hope you understand right now, and that is why the dataset file is so large. But I would like to repeat one thing. Here in the Power BI, this DAX formula, Power BI is executing the inner function first. Do you know how many rows are being produced by the cross join? Huge. Now we can do it right now, and so that you can see how big this cross join data table, and then this filter condition is going to keep the remaining 10.2 million rows. And if you know how many rows are produced first, and then eliminate the rows that not meet this criteria. All right, so easy, huh? First of all, I need to copy before I eliminate the outer filter function. All right, see, I'm not going to skip it. Rather, I would like you to see the whole process of this and see how long Power BI takes to complete this huge data table creation. I do it before I create this video, and I can tell you that not so long. It will be around 1 minute. Of course, when you look at this video, I already fast forward by 1.8 times of speed. Well, I don't. Do you have a question why it takes so long, which is even longer than we have the outer filter function? It is because they are creating, and then writing the rows, so it will take longer. And if we have the outer filter function, then it will not write. Okay, so here it will take a little bit longer. Now, so far 2 minutes past. I should stop this and then skip the timing in between. Okay, almost 4 minutes. And you see, wow, unbelievable. 168 million rows. So 4 minutes, or maybe at most 5 minutes. It's really good. Power BI is really good. Okay, we better resume to its original measure code. And you see that it's much faster. It's a fancy number, 168 million rows. Unbelievable. All right, we go back to 10.2 million. Okay, then come back to Excel. I would like to use Excel to simulate the new calculation method. All right, but the logic is quite similar to the original calculation method. All right, now remember, first of all, we need to find out the last accumulated sales quantity before the prevailing transaction ID. Now here I pick up 212220. All right, and then I need to pick up the accumulated sales quantity of transaction ID before 212220. Now you see that I have the Excel formula, but again, I'm not going to explain the Excel formula. All right, so I sort out that 59160. That means I highlight in this color. All right, you see here 59160. All right, and I put it here. Then I use a formula to find. Oh, sorry, I should mention that I also work out the accumulated buy-in quantity up to the current row. Now, of course, for the same stock. Okay. Now, you see that 59160. This is a transaction ID 310414. 330310414. Now, this is 59160. But the formula is to sort out the buy-in quantity. Of course, the same stock, the date on or before April 19. You see that here. B74. Here, B74 equal or less than. All right, the buy quantity date, the buy-in transaction date. All right, and of course equal to the ODI, the stock name. And now pay attention to here. We need to find the accumulated quantity must be greater than 59160. Yeah, greater than. Now no equal, just greater than. If greater than, and then we find out the minimum transaction buy-in ID. Now this is the buy worksheet A column. All right, A buy worksheet A column. It is the transaction ID of buy-in transaction. And I am going to locate once all the criteria are met, the same stock day before, and then the accumulated buy-in quantity is greater than the accumulated sales quantity with transaction ID less than the current one. So you see 310423. 3010423. Okay, this one. And then I also sort out the start accumulated quantity is 60180. This is the corresponding accumulated quantity. Then I am going to locate another transaction ID. I call it ending ID. Why? Because now this is the accumulator of a last transaction ID, 59160, and then I need to add 2040. I take the absolute amount, which is around which is how many? 61200. 61200. Now this is represented by here, but this time you need to pay attention. It's greater or equal to. Greater or equal to. Now this two cell is equal to 61200. Then I go to find that 61200. All right, and the transaction ID is 310424. 310424, and then the associated accumulated quantity, buy-in quantity is 61200. So in this case, you can think about that now. I want to extract the buy-in transaction for the record 212220, and the buy-in ID should be 310423 up to 310424, inclusively, the beginning and ending inclusively. All right, that means I just want to link up two rows. Absorb. I use the verb absorb these two rows only for this sales transaction. I don't want other rows before. All right, or 310424 after this transaction ID of buy-in. I don't need that because these two rows already sufficient to cover 2040, the current quantity. Of course, I don't know that if the stock accumulated QTY here, is there any quantity that it is for the previous sales quantity. So I use the 60180 minus this one, 59160. All right, 59160, and then I got 1020. Now this is I call it the first row, remaining quantity. Now, for example, if this is not 59160, it is 60,000. All right, just in case, 60,000. Okay, and this is 6180. That means on this row, the buy-in quantity of that transaction 310423. Actually, we only have 180. Now, if this is 60,000, all right, and then we have a 6180. That means the 310423, no matter how many it is, but we only have 180 share available to cover this. Okay, because we are looking for the greater than, not equal to, greater than. All right. So I need to make sure this is the first row of a buy-in quantity for meeting these criteria and the remaining balance. All right, this is the first row. Of course, for the second row, full amount. And then we are going to do the formula, just like what we're doing for the current usage column of the previous episode, part 1. Huh? Okay. Now, maybe you still have some confusion. Fine. Fine. I suggest you rewind and read it carefully. Of course, you better open the Excel file I attach to the remark or comment of this video, and then you can open it, read my formula, and double check the value, the result. Okay, I also provide one example in here. Okay, all right. Then we are going to do the DAX code in Power BI. To sum up, we need to create a few columns to our sell and buy data set. First of all, for buy is simple. We just need to create a column of the accumulated quantity for the stock up to the transaction ID of the row. Okay, all right. And then in the cell, first of all, we need to create a column of last accumulated quantity. That means the accumulated sales quantity of a stock up to the transaction ID less than the current row transaction ID. It needs to be very clear. Okay, and then the starting ID. Now we already explained starting ID, accumulated quantity, ending ID, the accumulated quantity of the ending ID, and then the first row remaining quantity. Okay, clear. So we are going to do the DAX code. In the buy data table, I create a new column. I call it accum quantity equal to sum x buy stock equal to earlier stock, and the tran ID less than or equal to earlier tran ID. All right. Okay, then we go to the cell table. I have a pre-select Audi and tran ID 212220, so that when we input the DAX code for the new columns, then we can immediately see the result, whether it match with our record in Excel. Okay. The first column is last accum quantity. Okay, sum x yes, equal to earlier stock and tran ID less than. It must be less than. Okay. QTY. All right. Do you remember the figure 59160? 59160, but you see that it is negative, so we need to negate the result. It would be good. Okay. Then the second column, the start ID. Start by ID equal to minimum min x. Okay. Equal to stock, sell stock, and the accum QTY greater than the last accum sell the last accum QTY. All right. And then we need the tran ID should be the buy tran ID. Okay, let's see. 310423. All right. All right, excellent. And then the third column. Third column is the start by ID quantity. So which next function are we using? It will be good to use lookup value. It's more efficient. It should be the start by accum. Start accum quantity. All right. The buy stock equal to the sell stock, and the tran ID equal to start by ID. All right. Is this sufficient? We have the stock. We have the tran by ID. Yes, they should be the key value. I mean, these two fields form the key of by data table. All right. 60180. Good. The next column to create is the end by ID, but I should copy the start by ID because in order to save my effort. End by ID. And the by accum QTY. Yes. The last accum QTY plus, but I just let it minus because the current row QTY is negative. QTY, right? And is greater than or equal to. Fine, equal to. All right, see. Okay, then say I use the start accum QTY to locate the end by ID. Okay, All right. But I'm curious if it is the right formula. I mean, for the N by ID, because I did not use the bound date and month end date. Yeah, it's wrong. As long as it is not a month end transaction. If it is a month end transaction, it's not correct. Remember what I have done for part 1. Because the inventory balance is associated with the last transaction, sales transaction of the month. So I need to add a if operation. If month end day is blank, that means now this is correct. Otherwise, I should include the transaction after the ID as long as it is the last sales transaction of the month, and I need to include the remaining buy-in transaction till the end of the month. So I should use max filter stock buy, and then stock equal to sell stock, and the buy day less than or equal to bound day. All right, and the ID of buy is larger than or greater or equal to the start buy day, start ID. Yeah. Okay. Then if this condition met, I need to find the maximum. Oh no. Yes. Correct. Because we already restrict the buy-in transaction day to be less than or equal to the bound day. All right. So see, there would be larger N by ID here. All right. Okay. Let me double check. Now, originally, it's not 31403. It's something less than that, much ahead. All right. So we are going to cross-check the buy transaction. Okay. This is 212164. 212164. 212164. 212164. Oh, no. I'm sorry. This is a sales transaction. I need to look at the stock audit and then look at the audit. And then the 36414. Now this is a start. 310381. 310381. Here. Now you see that this is a March 18. But there are 4 transactions after 318. Now if we do not add the if condition and we just adopt the previous version, then we will not catch those 4 transactions to that last sales transaction of March for audit. Then the inventory will be incorrect. So now this N by ID is correct now. Okay. Then now if you still have some confusion, so you can rewind to the part 1 of this video, part 1. Then you will see why I need to add the bound day. Okay, why I need to add the bound day, why I need to add the month end day. This is to extract the inventory from the buy data table for the last sales transaction of the month. Okay, then the last column I need to add is the first row remain. This is the start accumulated quantity minus last accumulated quantity. All right. Again, if you have something not understand, then you can rewind to the previous part. Then you can understand why I need to add the first row remain. Okay, time to do the FIFO table. Let's create the FIFO data table. Okay, click on the new table and we name it as FIFO data. But this time I am using the generate function. And same, I use the select columns, cell data table. And almost all the columns of cell table except those unnecessary columns I won't include in order to reduce the memory loading. All right. Of course, the first one is a cell stock. And then the cell ID, the cell date, cell price, cell QTY, and then the month and day. The cell YM. Which one? Okay, the start by ID. Do I need the start by the start accum quantity? No, I don't need it. Actually, it is only for checking in the cell data table. And also the last accum quantity is also for finding out the start by ID. I don't need it. All right. Then do I also need the end by ID? Of course. And then the first row remain. Is it enough? Let me double check. We have the date. All right. Do we need the bound date? No. Do we need the end accum quantity? As I mentioned, it is not necessary in the FIFO calculation. I mean the FIFO cost. First row remain already. Last accum quantity, no, it is only used for locating the start by ID. Month and day already. Price quantity already. Start accum quantity, no use. All right. We have include all the rows we need. Then I can go to input the secondary table, which is the by table. All right. Columns. This time a little bit different. I can include the filter, and the condition inside the filter can refer to the columns in the primary data table. Do you see familiar? It's quite similar to what we have done for add columns for the temporary data table. You are absolutely right. Yes, we can. So let me do it right now. The buy stock, the sell stock, the stock of buy equal to sell stock. All right, and the tran ID of buy larger, greater than, or equal to what? The start buy ID, and the tran ID is less than or equal to end buy ID. All right. Actually, it is the between, but in Power BI there is no function of between. Now, do we need the earlier? Yes, I missed this. We should add the earlier because it loop row by row. All right, then we start to insert the columns by stock. Well, actually, it is not necessary for this column, but it is just for checking purpose. Then we need the buy ID, buy day, buy price, and the buy quantity. But this time, I only assign the name of temp buy quantity. Why? Because remember, we have the first row. We have the first row remain. I have explained earlier in this video. So in order not to create confusion, the buy quantity should be after some operation between the temp buy quantity and the first row remain. Okay. Is it done? Yes. Okay, let's see. But I can tell you that it would be much faster than before because Power BI will do the filter on every single row of buy data table and see if it is matched with the row of sell data table. Okay. Wow. Just a few seconds, and you see how many rows? Only 29,900 rows, and much faster. See how powerful of Power BI. For those audience who have an IT background, do you think that this kind of function generate with filter is quite similar to the inner join of SQL? You are right. It performs the full function of SQL inner join. Good. Once the FIFO data table is created, I need to create the column of buy quantity instead of using the temp buy quantity for FIFO cost calculation. Because remember, we have the first row remain quantity. Okay. So the buy quantity equal to, now within the same stock and same cell ID, there may be more than one row of buy ID. I need to make sure the first row remain will be applied to the first buy ID within this scope of cell stock and cell ID. All right, so then we need to see if the current temp buy ID quantity can be used fully for the sales quantity consumption. Now, as I mentioned before, the first row remain is the balance of the current buy ID row that we can use the balance. All right, so I will use the temp, create a variable. I call it temp rank, and then I need to find out the first row position. FIFO, of course, and sell stock equal to earlier sell stock, and the sell ID equal to earlier sell ID. Make sure they are the current equal to the current. All right, and then we sort the buy ID in ascending order. Okay, in ascending order, and return if temp rank equal to 1. Then we need to find the minimum of the first row remain with the temp buy quantity. If it is not 1, that means the second row. Then we do not need to take care. The temp buy quantity, the first row remain. All right. Okay. I better apply the comma in the format. All right. Once we have the correct buy quantity, that means it is the balance available for the current sell ID quantity to be consumed. All right. Then we are going to create a column of current usage. Now, current usage equal to, first of all, the temp sold quantity. Now, I should negate the sell quantity because they are in negative. All right. And then I assign a variable temp last buy QTY. It is equal to the accumulated buy-in quantity before the current ID. Before the current ID. If you still have any question, I still suggest you to reread the part 1 video. The part 1 video. You will find that, or the Excel, you will find that why I am doing this kind of calculation. All right. Sum X filter FIFO data sell stock equal to earlier sell stock and sell ID equal to earlier sell ID and the buy ID less than earlier buy ID. The buy quantity. I miss one the closing bracket. Buy quantity. Now, this is the accumulated buy-in quantity for the buy ID before the current. All right. Why? And because we need to find out the balance of temp sold quantity that will consume the current buy-in quantity. So I should use temp equal to minimum, maximum, temp sold quantity minus temp last buy quantity. Now, temp sold quantity is the current row sold quantity because we only bother with the current sold quantity. We don't need to do the calculation of last consumed because the FIFO, this version of FIFO data already handle the last consumption of sales, previous sales ID. All right. So now this temp sold minus temp last buy quantity is the balance, the unsettled balance. If it is negative, I don't need to do anything, right? Then the maximum will return 0. And how? This is the buy quantity. Now, if temp sold quantity minus temp last buy quantity is greater than 0 and greater than the current buy-in quantity, so the current row of buying quantity can only be fully consumed for this. It cannot be more. All right. Now, return if temp not equal to 0. Temp. Now, because I don't want to show 0. Okay. Okay. Let me sort out a stock to see M. Just randomly selected. Sort by the buy-in ID. All right. Sort by the buy-in ID, or maybe we. It is not a good sample check. Okay, I select another cell ID 20056 line for this illustration. You see that I already sort the by ID and just for the cell ID 20056 line. And here the first row remaining is 1734. And the current buy quantity is the temp buy quantity is 30600. It's much larger than the 1734. But because most of the 30600 is used for the consumption of cell ID before the current. So we only have 1734 remain for this. Now this is the first row. This is the first row. So I am finding the minimum. All right, first row. So it is 1734. But for the second row, we no longer restricted or constrained by the first row remain. This is only for the first row. This is the second row. Then the temp buy quantity, we just move the temp buy quantity to buy quantity. Okay. So you see that 1734, 2958. So we are to consume 2856. So the first row we consume whole 1734, and then the second row we don't need 2958. We only have the 1122 remain on the sell quantity. So the buy quantity is more than enough, and we only use the temp sold minus temp last buy quantity. Okay, bingo. I sort out a set of data. The sell ID is 200574. The stock is CUSTK. All right, and it is August 30. This is a meaningful transaction because you see the month and day here. All right, and then you see that the current usage of the first row 2713. 2713 is same as the first row remain, and also the temp. The temp buy quantity is 51,000, and then the first row remain is 2713. Obviously, some of the first row are used to settle the sell quantity before this current sell ID 200574. That's why the remaining is lower than the current row quantity. All right, and then you see that the second row, the buy quantity is 5100, but the settlement, because we have quite a big shares to be settled, it is 10200. All right, you saw the third row, the buy quantity, I mean the available balance is 5100, and but we only use 2387. This is the last amount of shares to settle the sales. Okay, this is a very good example. And then you see that we are going to create a row of balance QTY, which is equal to buy quantity minus current usage. Do we need to set the filter? No, no need. No need. I should stick to my practice to eliminate 0 and then the formatting of comma. All right. So the remaining columns, just like the sales, cost, profit, the balance value, I mean the inventory value, I will do it behind scene. I don't want to waste time for those columns creation. All right, I'm going to do it behind scene. Now see, I create 4 columns. One is the sales, dollar sign, cost, dollar sign, profit, dollar sign, and balance value. And then in order to fit for the visual reporting, I also need to add some other column, just like the month, the year, and some other, and the month number. All right, so I also do it behind the scene. Once I complete, and then you can see that. Okay, I create 3 more columns: the sale month number, the sale year, the sale month, which we use make use of the sale month number to create the trailing blank. All right, I thought you are quite familiar with this kind of text construction, and this is for sorting purpose. All right, and also for the slicer. Okay, then we go to the report view. I also skip on how to create the visual matrix for the stock sales and profit, and because it is same as what we have done for the part 1. And of course some measure we need to create, they are all the same. And then we have the year slicer, month slicer. I just show here, and the only thing I add is the summary, but it's okay, you can also create it by yourself. It's so simple. Of course I have attached all the files, the Excel file and the Power BI, in the video, so you can download it and then do your own study. We better focus on something which is different from the part 1. And this is the inventory. All right. Then we are going to create the stock balance data table. It's almost the same as what we have done for the part 1. Now you look at this. The major difference is the month and day. Now this is not blank. That means we have the month and date in this column. For those not the last transaction, I mean the last sales transaction of the month, it will be blank. For those we have the last transaction, then it is within the month and day. All right. So I hit enter. Okay. Then we have the data table created. Now all these columns we don't need to sum or count, so I need to change it to don't summarize. All right, and I add a page inventory. I just copy and paste from the visual matrix from the part 1 to here, and I also add the year slicer and month slicer. Now one point I would like to highlight to you. Now I just randomly select a year and a month. I would like to highlight to you is that I am still referring to the FIFO data. Now for the year slicer, the sale year, and the sale month of FIFO data. But you may look at the data of the stock balance, and the stock balance for breakdown is referring to the stock balance. Now these two are unrelated to these two slicer, and at the same time, I sync these two slicer to the main. All right, to the main. I sync to them. I should add back. I sync to them. And how comes this and this are not related? But whenever I change my selection, it can help to filter these two. Now, maybe this video and the last video are too long, and some critical tasks you may forget. Let me remind you one thing. Actually, I have the check YM that can filter. Now, you see that? The check, this one. Now here, all are referring to the stock balance. Okay, but we have the check YM measure in effect. Now, this matrix, when it has all the rows and values from the stock balance, it will just plainly dump the content of this data table in the matrix. But since I have placed the check YM, which is actually subject to the YM selected is referring to the year slicer and month slicer. And this filter pane, this filter will help just select those records that are fit to the selection of here. All right. So, but remember, this check YM does not necessarily refer to the YM selected that is less than or equal to. Now, for detail, I suggest you better rewind to part 1 and see how this is taking effect. Now, this time, I really, suggest you be patient with this lengthy video. It is really helpful and it is a good learning journey. All right. Well, at the same time, here I would like to add a blank button, inventory. All right. And this is a blank button, and you see that I change the action to page navigation, and then destination. I need to choose inventory. So when I click on control click on it, you will jump to here. So from here, we need to have a button that allow us to go back to main. All right. So better to insert a blank button that is left arrow. All right. Then go back right, and then we reformat this. Fill with a blue color, no transparency, and the text color is, oh no, not text color. It should be the icon color. We use the white and then central. Okay, and same. We need to set the action. Back is all right. See, let's try back. All right, and then jump to. Okay. Okay, we are done with this advanced FIFO cost calculation. I hope this video is helpful. If you agree, please click on the subscribe button and also the like button. Many thanks. Happy PBI journey.